After that experience, I thought everything would immediately become peaceful. I was wrong. For a few days, things felt quiet. Too quiet. The heaviness that once filled my room seemed gone. And for the first time in years, I slept without fear. I told myself maybe it was finally over. Maybe whatever had followed me had left. But then the dreams began. Not ordinary dreams. These felt layered, almost alive. Every night, I found myself standing in unfamiliar places. Empty roads under dark skies, abandoned buildings, endless hallways with no doors. And no matter where I walked, there was always one strange feeling. Something was watching me. I never saw it clearly, but I could feel it. The atmosphere in those dreams carried the same darkness I had known for years, except now it felt angry, disturbed, as if something realized I was trying to escape. One night, the dream became different. I remember standing in what looked like a massive field covered in ash. The sky above me looked broken, dark clouds twisting unnaturally while distant sounds echoed like cries carried by the wind. And then I saw people, hundreds of them, walking forward silently. Some looked normal, but their eyes were empty. Others looked lost, as if they were following something they could not even see themselves. I tried to speak to them, but none of them responded. They just kept walking toward the darkness ahead. And then suddenly, one of them stopped. A man turned slowly toward me. I will never forget his face, not because it was frightening, but because it looked familiar. It looked like me, older, exhausted, empty. And when he spoke, his voice sounded like a whisper buried beneath water. If you keep walking the same path, you become this. I froze. Everything around me became silent. Then the ground beneath us began to shake violently. The people kept walking forward anyway, as if they could not hear it, as if they could not see where they were going. But ahead of them, I could now see it clearly, a massive shadow stretching across the horizon. Alive, waiting, and suddenly, I felt something pull me backward. Not physically, spiritually. A force pulling me away from the crowd. At first I resisted. I don't know why. Maybe because darkness had become familiar to me. Maybe because part of me was afraid to let go of who I had become. But then I heard something again. Not loud, not angry, but powerful enough to silence everything else. Wake up. My eyes opened instantly. I sat upright in my room, breathing heavily. The time was exactly 3:17 a.m., and what terrified me most was this. I was already awake before my eyes opened. I know that sounds impossible, but for a moment, it felt like two realities had overlapped. My room felt cold. The atmosphere was heavy again. And near the corner of the room, I sensed the same presence I used to feel years before. Except this time, I was no longer comfortable with it. For the first time, I resisted it. I began to pray quietly, even though my voice was shaking. And as I prayed, something strange happened. The fear began to weaken, not instantly, but slowly, like darkness losing its grip. That was the moment I realized something important. Whatever had held me for years did not want to lose me easily. And the closer I moved toward light, the more resistance I began to face. From that night onward, everything changed again. Certain music started feeling wrong. Certain conversations drained me. Places I once enjoyed suddenly felt spiritually heavy. It was as if my eyes were opening little by little to things I had ignored for years. And the strangest part? Some people around me noticed the change before I even spoke about it. "You seem different," they said, but I could never fully explain why. Because how do you explain a battle people cannot see? How do you describe the moment you realize darkness is not always obvious? Sometimes it becomes normal before it destroys you. And deep inside, I knew the story was far from over, because the warning I received that night was only the beginning